So yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm sorry that I didn't reach back earlier on that email. It just kind of slipped my inbox, and
No worries.
yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, it's all good.
All good. And I was sharing with them that that during the day works better for you for a call. After hours, you like to spend your time with your kids like us. And
try to unplug.
Yeah, no, we completely understand that. So we actually appreciate it that you like to do things during working business hours. Is actually kind of nice. So so just real quick, so Jason, yes, Ryan was on the call. You got to hear. I think both days, right, for the home buyer workshop.
Yes, I was on both.
And he's thinking maybe 6 months to a year out, but really just right now trying to get the numbers figured out. So he shared with me some rough numbers. What would you like to do, or what would be helpful for you, Ryan? Just getting an idea in terms of pre-qualification, what those monthly payments look like. Based on what your situation is, what would be the most help?
I think that would be a good start.
Okay.
And then that would let me know that I'm on the right track.
Okay.
As far as definitely want to obviously get pre-approved before get too serious. I wouldn't mind getting pre-approved sooner rather than later, with the understanding, I guess, you get that rate, and then you can keep that rate by paying a couple $100 every, whatever the threshold is. Apparently, someone else told me that. And then if the rate gets, if it improves, then you could potentially get I don't know. You guys obviously know a lot more about that than me, but I guess there's potential. I look every day throughout the day. I'm getting increasingly motivated to make a move, even though actually physically moving my stuff at this time would be pretty scary, but
right.
For me anyway.
Yeah.
But
kind of like getting in the pool, you just kind of, at some point you just decide it's time to go in and you jump. Sometimes you just jump down, Sometimes you do a plan or whatever, a checklist, make sure you got your sunscreen on, glasses off,
right.
Whatever works for you. But the last final step is usually a jump. And then once you do that, you're wet.
That's kind of how it was. I bought a house before back in South Carolina, but it's been years now. But yeah, it was the same thing. So good analogy.
Cool. And it's go ahead.
Oh, with the rates, I mean, there's different lenders that have different types of programs out there. And I'm a correspondent lender broker. So there are some lenders that allow longer rate locks, or they call them some lenders call them lock and shop. There's all sorts of different fancy names. The only problem is you're able to secure today's market rate, but there's extra added on cost for the time factor. And realistically, I'm not recommending doing that today. Interest rates are staying low. They're not going up, especially between now and the election. So you end up paying like extra money, and essentially you're kind of ruling out that lender from being able to lock with them. If that lender happens to be super competitive on the regular rate sheets, we won't be able to take advantage of those regular rate sheets. A loan officer might sell you on, you can do a float down, but the reality is you are paying a cost. A rate lock's not only a commitment to you to get that rate, but a commitment to the investor and the lender as well. Okay. So ultimately, time costs money when it comes to having a longer option, if you will, for that longer rate lock. And in the current environment, things could change. Next week, I might not be saying the same thing, but I don't foresee anything happening drastically. Okay. I would suggest you should be doing that between now and the election at least.
Okay, that's good to know. The only thing, so how long does it take start to finish for an average person with no financial issues to go about the pre-approval process? Because my only concern is that something that I fall in love with, or my wife falls in love with, and we want to make an offer. No one's going to consider it unless we're pre-approved or we had cash payment for the whole thing, I'm sure. So right. What's that take?
It's fast. I mean, depends on your situation. It usually just involves taking the loan application and providing the proof of income and the assets, so that we can verify that you have the ability to write that offer and get the loan based on the terms that you need. If you're doing 10 or 20% down, whatever it is, we just want to verify that you have enough money to do that, and then you have the income to support whatever that payment will end up being based on that price point you're trying to buy in. Okay. And so as far as, I could send you on my email at the bottom. There's a hyperlink where you could even fill out the application at your leisure if you prefer, or we could set up a time to take one over the phone or whatever is easiest for you. And then you could even upload if you do the online application, you could upload the documents to the portal, and it lets me know as soon as the application's been triggered. And once you upload the documentation, I just go in, review it. There was just we had a client that just did that the other day. Was it last night, Brandon? All my days blurred together. I don't know, but it took about 2 or 3 hours, from the time that they completed it for me to go through and review it. The biggest delay was the fact that I was trying to get dinner and I pulled my back, and so I was laying on ice for half an hour.
Oh, shoot.
But no, it's a fast process, in general. Sometimes if you provide one thing, it might not be enough, or it might need additional clarification, especially if you have like variable income, or you might need to get an actual written verification of employment, to break out the variable income because it's not as transparent through looking at your W-2s, because it just shows your gross income and doesn't separate your base pay from commission or bonus, etc. So, just really depending on one situation. But generally speaking, we should have a pretty good idea where we stand within a couple hours.
Okay, so for my employment, it's really easy, I think, because I'm a Navy civilian. So working for the government, that's one of the perks, I suppose, is that you don't have to worry too much about, loss of income.
Yeah, job stability.
Job stability, right. And then, if I need a way to get any of those documents, I've seen those electronically available where I can just go pull the letter that says, hey, yeah, he has a job with us and this is what he makes and such.
Right.
At least I've seen the option for it. So
yeah, a lot of them are online. We could actually get them, verification of employment online. We just have to get once you have the application, we can request it. We usually get that back the same day.
All right. Yeah, that sounds
good. You're probably salary, so we probably just look at your pay stub and can figure it out without it. So.
Yep, I am. And you can look up online anywhere. I tell you, I'm a GS-14 Step 10 that lives, in Ventura County. You can look up, see exactly what I make because it's all publicly known. So, but yeah, okay, yeah. So for my financial situation where I'm sitting is I'll give you a little more detail just because I don't know if it's going to cause any weird ripples, but I've got a little, like 52,000 sitting in a Robinhood trading app. I do a lot of stock trading. Okay. The idea that that's going to go towards the down payment. And then I've got about 50,000 other cash in banks that I'm willing to put towards this. And then, so that's, it's about 100,000 there. That's cash. The other part was I was going to pull 50,000 out of a 401k. Now I was told that back when I bought my house, it was President Obama was in office, and he had a deal where you could pull it out and not take any hits if it was used towards buying a home. I was told that actually is still an option, and so that's why I considered that'd be pretty easy for me to do, is just to pull 50 out and then have that as 150 as my down payment. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, I mean, as a disclaimer, since I have an attorney on, well, I guess not an attorney, but I went to law school on the phone. But even if not, so I'm not a financial advisor and I'm not a tax attorney by any means. But right now, during the Obama administration, it wasn't like you could pull the money out and, it's just you don't have to worry about the early payment penalty, but you still have to pay taxes on it, as far as I was aware. I bought a house in 2013. We did that. I think it was 5,000 that we pulled out, or 10,000. Didn't have to pay the early termination fee on it because we used it to buy a home. And right now, under the CARES Act, and don't hold me to this, but I believe, I don't know if it's a rumor, but I believe that you could actually pull from your 401k without a penalty. I don't know if you need some sort of hardship or if there's some sort of income limitation attached to that. But I heard that they basically that was part of the CARES Act.
Right. That's what I heard too. Actually, I heard it was, well, I'm not sure. I'll have to do further research into that before I go doing it, obviously. But
yeah.
But that's where the other 50 was supposed to come from.
But that's penalty. So that's that, 10% penalty. But you still have to pay taxes on it.
Yeah, I'll have to look into it. But 50,000, I'll do what I have to do. I think as long as it makes sense, I think it'd be possible. Yeah, I wouldn't do it if it's going to cost me more than the penalty to just pay for it towards a loan with only 100,000 in cash at that point. But
it depends on like what you're trying to accomplish. I mean, if you're trading stocks, then it's like if you're doing well and kind of know what you're doing and feel comfortable with making money, and maybe it might make more sense to not do that and keep the money liquid, and you're as liquid as it is in a 401k to make trades and invest. Personally speaking, I don't know what the heck's going on with the stock market. I mean, to me, it seems a little scary.
I'm actually trading real cash. I'm not trading 401k, so it's. I've been doing options. I did very well at first when the big crash happened. I was ready for it and made some money on it. But I'm not investing in
call options as well. My brother, he made a crap ton. He bought a bunch of called on Jack in a Box, like when it dipped really low. I bought a bunch of Exxon stock before they filed bankruptcy, but I bought it in like the 32 range. Part of it is I used to actually do day trading as well.
I'm a pattern day trader right now, but only because I was figuring out the swings and MACD with the I've been researching a lot because I have extra time.
Look for volatile trades and do straddles and
Sure, it's fun. It's fun, but I don't want to risk too much, so I'm about 80% cash in that account, which is I'm just too afraid to invest because now it seems like a ridiculous time to invest.
But I've been looking at gold for a lot of my money. I'm just thinking like, hey, I don't know what to do, but I think the safest thing, gold from a price point looks a little high, but with everything going on from a fundamental standpoint, it's like, I see that's a pretty smart play in my opinion.
I agree. I have a couple thousand I've only got about 12K invested, but right now, in that account, but I've got a couple thousand in gold, and it did really well today. It bounced up.
I saw it. Yeah.
So 150,000 down is where I was aiming. Okay. And there's ability to get some. My parents offered some help, but I'd rather keep that as cash, just because I don't want to be house poor. But sure. And then from there, it's just my wife's not working yet because we have very young children, so it's just me. But my salary is 160,000 for Ventura area at a GS14 step 10. So and my credit's great. I don't have any debt. We owe $3,000 or $5,000 maybe on a vehicle, and no student loans. Paid all those off. No credit card debt. I recently got a couple credit cards because I found out that my credit had dipped pretty substantially down to like 740, but now I'm back over 800, and I want to say it's pronounced FICO. I'm not 100%. I'm not into that stuff, but. Yeah, Bank of America allows me. I have a preferred account that allows me to do a FICO. It just tells me. So it's at $799 today, or yesterday, or whenever I looked at it. So that's kind of the financials of it.
Okay, and then let's see. And the price point that you're kind of looking at buying in, ballpark range.
Sure, I was hoping to keep it under $750. With 150 being 20% of a down payment, and then I'm renting at 3,100, and it's pretty easy to rent on the salary at 3,100. Every 2 weeks, I think my take home is like it's over 3,800 ish, and so I don't know. I don't really know what that'll look like exactly, but I've done the online mortgage calculators. I'm not sure how accurate they are, but
a lot of times they forget to include important factors like the insurance, property taxes, and the insurance and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, just ballpark 750,000 with 20% down. You're looking at ballpark about $3,500 on the total payment with the taxes and the insurance.
That's kind of what I was thinking. 3,500. Well, that's very doable.
Yeah, and then it's 20%, 150,000, but then the closing costs,
right.
So you're looking probably closer to about 165 or so, 160, 165, somewhere in that range.
Okay, yeah, I guess I need to pull that probably out of the 150 and just but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when as it gets closer. Maybe I'll make some good trades.
Yeah, right. And you don't have to have the full 20% down. If you have less than 20%, usually there's mortgage insurance. But if you have really good credit scores, it's pretty minimal. And in some cases, just depending on the house that you buy, it might make sense to have a little bit more cash and fix it up. Even if the price point is lower to where you have the money, it might make sense to keep some of that money, especially if you're doing well with your trades, having the liquidity. I think that there's going to be another. I think the stock market is pretty silly. They're constantly trying. Everything's valued based on where it's going or where they think it's going to be going, based on all these positive headlines. But because of what I do, I'm really attached and tethered to the bond market, which is where all the smart money does their trading. So, all the smart money, the bond money is like shaking their heads saying the stock market is, silly. And the way that things are evaluated is ridiculous. You can't really, a lot of the guys that are, doing some technical analysis in the stock market world and the trades that are being made are very silly and foolish at the moment. There's just so much debt, and you gotta realign, how you evaluate companies, and debt is a huge factor, very big problem for most companies these days.
I agree, and I think the next year is going to be. That's why I kind of put it out the 6 months to a year is when I wanted to pull triggers, because I wanted to make myself wait to see what happens. Because, like home sales just went down 40%. Brandon and I were talking about that a couple days ago, I guess it was. And that kind of makes it harder. Right? Isn't that what the
30 to 40% in terms of total sales dropped in the month once the COVID hit, the stay-at-home order. 30 to 40% in terms of sales dropping, not prices. Prices have still appreciated. Yeah. And that's where buyers are kind of misreading the news, thinking, oh yeah, now's the time to buy. Now's sales are down. It's like, no, what that means is there's less inventory. There's more competition. There's actually more buildup right now of what's happening. Quite a few people are hoping and anticipating that everything's just like we're going to hit another depression in the next 6 to 12 months. Actually, this is just a conversation I had with another past client who recently sold. He's trying to encourage his brother to sell right now. And in all reality, nobody knows. And most of the more sound data that I'm seeing is still about a 2.5% appreciation over the next 12 months, which I think is very realistic because I'm on the ground level, Jason's on the ground level of writing offers, competing in multiple offer situations. We're seeing it. So regardless of what the news is saying, we're seeing what's actually happening real time based on what our clients are doing and how it's responding to the market and what's happening. So it'll be really interesting. If you see more inventory come up, properties start sitting, then you're going to have a little bit more advantage. To be honest, the only thing I see that could happen is if we see that second spike that they keep talking about, that second wave come in, and if they shut us down again, that's going to be the best time, which sounds crazy, but that's when you'll have the most leverage as a buyer with a secure job, and that's what we saw with a client that Jason Harrelson and I were working with a client. And he was actually getting beat out. Stay-at-home order hits. We wrote right before it hit, and the leverage literally shifted as we wrote our offer and we were countering. It went from where the seller had more leverage to where my buyer had more leverage within that 48-hour span, which was crazy. And then we negotiated well through the transaction. He ended up getting deployed, and that's a whole nother story of what happened towards the end of that. But it was the first time seeing that true shift happen on a daily basis. And in reality, that would be, in my opinion, the only thing that slowed it down, other than higher rates, which doesn't help the buyers, doesn't help anybody out. That would be the only other factor. Higher rates, which I don't see happening, like Jason said. I see the second spike as being a potential, but I don't know if I'd hold my breath for that because, based on what I'm seeing in the news about what Trump's saying and other people, I don't know. I see things continue to pick up, to be honest with you. So My biggest thing is if you are kind of just trying to get everything ready, even if you're thinking 6 months to 12 months out, I would highly recommend at least start the approval process, get the numbers figured out, make sure, and just based off what you're sharing, we both are pretty certain that it's going to be no issue getting you pre-approved. That's not the issue. Couple of things. Number one, you already said you don't want to miss out on that right opportunity that comes, especially if you can get it at the right rate and with the right terms before everybody else gets in. But the other thing is they're making it a requirement right now because they don't want just looky-loo buyers coming through, that they want to see a recent pre-approval letter that's like to the day. So what I'm doing a lot with Jason is when my clients want to see it, there's two things that have to happen. One, they need an updated pre-approval letter, and two, they need a PED form, which just basically says you understand the risk with the coronavirus, you're relieving that liability, and you're going in kind of, assuming that risk. But that's required for every single listing that we're showing right now. So those are the safety precautions that are happening. So if you do want to get to where you at least start checking some properties out, kind of getting a feel for the areas and starting to really understand what a home's really going for, because there's only so much you can see online. Completely different story once you step foot into these homes in comparison to what they look like online. So that would be my recommendation. Is just it's pretty not a whole lot required, nothing to lose really, right, Jason, on your end? I mean, there's no cost or anything for him to do all that, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Fine.
Yeah.
So, is there a hit to the credit the more often you rent? So one of the things I heard, and hopefully maybe, well, I'm sure you know about it, is that with the changes because of coronavirus, that these pre-approvals don't last as long because the people loaning out these lenders don't want to make it a long one, and then you lose your job, and then
right.
So they have to continuously check to make sure you're still working because of this ridiculous unemployment GDP drop. So
right.
How long do they last?
Well, just the short answer to the question, the generic answer is the pre-approval on a conventional conforming loan is usually good for 120 days, and that's just because that's how long the credit report is good for. Technically speaking, it's really only 90 days for you to write an offer because it usually takes close. So if you write, if the credit report is 90 days old by the time it's accepted and we close, 30 days later, we're good. We don't have to re-pull credit. But the income documentation, that's typically a 120-day period. But just recently, lenders want, every time you get a new pay stub, they're going to want a new pay stub. Even if you have a DOD job, civil service kind of job that, your income's good, they still want a pay stub. I thought if you worked as a nurse there, I had a lender that was busting my chops over getting an updated pay stub for a nurse, but apparently nurses are getting laid off because no one's going to the hospital.
It's crazy. I'm like, what's
right.
going on? Why do we shut down the economy?
Right.
I know.
And their hours are being cut. Jason, so real quick, so just his question about the credit being dinged, and Ryan, I want to explain the process just a little bit more after this question gets answered, but number one, so when you do it, is it a hard pull or a soft pull when you have to run it the first time, right? Because typically the way you and I work is we do it the first time where they run your credit. You have to see the credit report so you can look at everything, make sure there's no skeletons, no curveballs that could potentially make things a challenge in the future, right? Even like if you saw that he closed a couple cards, you would have gave him the advice, hey, open one or two, make sure we get that going for the length of the history. So that'd be one thing that you point out that he's already done. But after you do it up front, then we're not running it every time you get a new pre-approval letter. And that's what I wanted to clarify with you, Ryan, is once we do it up front and Jason knows you're solid and you're good to go, now anytime I ask him, he just sends me a pre-approval. And we just say, hey, this one's listed at $650,000. Can you prepare a pre-approval for $650,000 so they'll let us see the place, number one. We send it over to the other side, and that's just communication between Jason and myself. And usually, it's not required for every property. So sometimes we can get away with just signing that PED form. And then if it's like, hey, we're interested in this one, and we start prepping an offer, then I reach out to Jason, and it's not always asking price. Say we know one's priced on the higher side and we want to come in a little bit lower, then we're going to tailor that pre-approval to whatever offer we make, right? So it's not, even though they're asking for $650, but we're coming in at $620, our pre-approval is going to show $620. And then if we counter back and forth, because we don't necessarily want to show them how high we can go. So those are a couple numbers that you'll want to definitely find out as you and Jason start getting more of the numbers together. Does that make sense, Ryan?
I think so. So you do one hard pull that guarantees it. Now, that one pull that guarantees it, how long is that good for?
The credit report itself is 120 days.
Okay.
So what will happen, let's say hypothetically, you're going to kind of sit on the sidelines, just kind of see what happens if there's a second wave or not. And 6 months, 9 months goes by, and during that 6 to 9 month period, you're still kind of wanting to take a look at some properties that hit the market. I don't necessarily have to re-pull your credit.
Right.
If I pull your credit today, and your credit scores are in like the 500-600s, I'm going to say, you know what, Ryan, we need to, while I don't have to pull your credit, I think it's a good idea to make sure that we're making progress and you're following the steps that I asked you to, and that nothing else is new and popping up. But if you have control over your credit situation, clearly if you don't have a bunch of collections and other skeletons in the closet, then I'm going to just take it for face value that what you've been doing your whole life is you're still doing it and it's working for you. And so I'm not going to have to re-pull the credit to issue a new pre-approval letter for Brandon. The only disclaimer I would say to that is if you are writing an offer, some offers do want a desktop underwriting approval or a DU or an automated approval engine.
Uh-huh.
And to issue an automated approval engine with the approval letter, I would have to re-pull a new credit report because it basically is going to they don't allow underwriters to underwrite loans really anymore. They fill out checklists essentially. Mm-hmm. And so they rely on AI and the information that gets pulled in from your credit report, and that has to be a fresh date. Otherwise, we'll get a refer that your credit report's too old. Okay. But yeah, so if it does take a little bit of time, it would be a little bit longer. Now, kind of going back on that hard inquiry as far as and its effects, it's not. It definitely is an effect. You can call it a ding or whatever to your credit, but it's not really as bad as you think. It's not as bad as not having any credit cards or having credit cards at zero balance, or even worse, closing out a credit card. It's far from that. If you're in the 800s, it might cost you a couple points, but at the end of the day,
no big deal.
It kind of has to be done.
Yeah,
it's like kind of for me, it's like you can't really see a doctor and have him really kind of evaluate you unless if he sends you out for lab work and draws your blood and you say, "Well, it hurt." Well, yeah, but it's not that big a deal, right?
Sure, yeah, that's a good analogy. So basically what I did was I just got these two credit cards. They're both cashback cards, and I've now switched to using them because I don't know why I wasn't doing that before.
Yeah,
I'm getting 5% on them, so it's
There's that through.
Yeah, so I'm using them, and I'm just going to pay them off every month. One's an Amazon, one that I do a lot of, obviously now, Amazon shopping.
Yeah, I got the Amazon.
Bank of them. Yeah, I like it. It's been great so far. The other one's
BofA has the 5? Really?
Oh, well, they've got, if you got to be a preferred, they actually have more than 5. My parents have a more than 5 one because they've got more cash sitting in the bank. But, Bank of America's got a really good deal on that right now. And that's those are two, but I just got them. I don't even think I've got the first statement for one of them yet. So, I don't know how that's going to change things, but I guess a little time under the belt would be better. I wish I would have never canceled the ones I had so long ago, but they were travel based and they were a couple $100 a year just to keep. I used to travel a lot. Now that I'm government, I have to use a government card. So anyway,
if it makes you feel better, all you need is 740. Anything above that's for bragging rights.
Oh, right. I think Brandon mentioned that. Yeah, so I'm well over 740, at least on Credit Karma and whatever Bank of America. So I don't know FICO score, but
yeah.
Okay, so that's good to know.
And it's not that you actually get to be much lower, but to get the top tier pricing, the best rates available, 740. So just to clarify that.
Got it. Okay. So great. Thanks for the information. I guess what I'll do is I'll think more on what I think is going to happen it's all conjecture at this point, but the second wave, the impact of that, because it could change all the rules if we do that and then lenders decide, now we can't do this.
And that's a great thought that you have there. And here's what I would suggest. I mean, I own a home today, and I wasn't really interested. Brandon sold my rental property 2 years ago, and now I'm thinking like, shoot, I want to buy something. I kind of want to buy land. I'm kind of saving a lot of the cash that I have. If the other thing, like you, I kind of want to be ready to make some more trades and make some more money because I should be able to make a lot of money. I was planning on making a lot more money, but things didn't go down as slow as they were supposed to go because the freaking government just likes to print off a bunch of money.
Oh my God!
Yeah, when you put $6 trillion into the system, what do you think happens?
Cash isn't worth as much anymore, and my stupid puts were I had some bad options because of the money printer, but I'm in the same boat.
But yeah, what my suggestion is we don't really know what's going to happen, but it seems like the Fed is going to continue doing what they're doing, and they're betting the farm. And especially in California, when you kind of think like if your concern is maybe that value is going to go down, honestly, I'd probably scratch that, at least here in Southern California, because if anything, LA markets, I'd be a little bit more worried. But if you're buying in where are you looking to buy in?
Camarillo and Thousand Oaks. And I agree. You guys said something that really resonated with me on that seminar where you maybe it was your father, Brandon. Someone said that this is the last affordable area of Southern California, and I thought, wow, that really makes sense. You look at Orange County, everything's 1.4. You look, it's starting to do that in Thousand Oaks, and I agree. I think it's going up. I completely agree.
We're more spaced out. Our COVID numbers are down, and Camarillo is super desirable. And you take a look, who buys properties in Camarillo, and were their incomes affected? And the answer is no.
Right.
You get a lot of civilian people, teachers, a lot of Amgen people. Amgen people are not, their income's just fine. Oh yeah, so they're not struggling making their payments. So, when there's blood in the water, as Buffett says, when people are greedy, be fearful, and when people are fearful, be greedy, kind of thing. And I thought maybe there'd be a little bit of time where it'd be a buyer's market for once, but that really
we saw it for about 40 days, 30, 40 days.
Weeks, and the main issue of that, there was a little bit of panic from buyers, but the biggest issue that I have, and Randy actually said it, is lenders. Lenders' appetite and for risk. I'm actually surprised there hasn't been more pullbacks. There's been a few. Some lenders want higher credit scores, above what Fannie and Freddie, will allow. Some want reserves now, and they're all wanting to re-verify employment 20 times. It makes it really fun for us trying to get a loan closed. And the employers are like, yeah, you just called yesterday. Nothing's changed. Perfect. Can you put that in writing and send that to us? They're just like, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
So the dynamics of lending, could change, but the reality is especially on our local housing level, it's pretty sound. I'd be a little wary of buying in Bakersfield, where a lot of jobs are dependent upon oil, or Vegas, where a lot of jobs are dependent upon the entertainment industry, as well as traveling, because let's face it, people are not going to be hot to trot to jump on an airline anytime soon. But Camarillo, that's sound. Everyone wants to move out of LA and closer to, more temperate climates such as Camarillo that has good schools, and it's just
especially now that they're going to allow work from home probably more.
Exactly.
Frequent, so they can move out.
That's why I think Ventura, especially Oxnard, Ventura Beach areas, in the next couple real estate cycles out this way, it's going to get a little more gentrified, and there's going to be a little bit more of a increase of appreciation in the real estate market in those beach communities in comparison with your Redondo Beach, Venice Beach, all the other Orange County, LA County beaches, I believe, because I think they've already had their moment of in the spotlight, if you will, with the whole Silicon Beach, with Snapchat and all those other guys moving in there. Because again, we don't need to be within a 15-30 minute commute from LAX because people aren't flying and doing telecommuting, Zoom meetings. You don't have to be tethered to downtown LA.
Sure.
And right
it makes
to
sense.
A major airport.
Cool. Yeah, it's
that's my speculation.
No, I appreciate that, Jason. I know I want to be respectful to Ryan's time. I know he's trying to wrap up. So, any other questions that you have, Ryan, before we can try to reconnect sometime next week, and when you got a little bit of time during the day, and if you can shoot me a text or something, and then if we can, just schedule maybe 30 minutes and just kind of discuss in a little bit more detail. It could be about the market. It could be about kind of what it takes to be prepared and ready. Biggest thing is we want you ready to go. The more that you're ready now, it doesn't matter whether you buy now or a year from now. What's key is that you have all the information you need right now so that if that opportunity does come up, that you don't miss it. Because what I've found out, especially in Camarillo, is it's really been the place that we got, and I love the home we were able to get about 2 years ago. It's in Central Camera, right off Mobile and Dunnigan, and literally this neighborhood for I'd say about a 2-3 year span, you couldn't buy in this neighborhood. What I mean by that is as soon as something came on, it's multiple offers. It's still like that right now, but it slowed down just a little bit. And so even though we haven't seen a true buyer's market, we've seen a shift. Even though it's a seller's market, it's kind of a seller's market with a hint of buyers still got some leverage and some pull and can ask for certain things, especially at specific price points. And we talked a little bit that in your 700 price range, you got a little bit more negotiation power in some situations. Now, some houses are just dialed in and got everything ready to go and exactly what you want. It's got the yard spaced out. It's got the 1,800 plus square foot. It fits everything that you want in a home. And everybody knows that, and anybody who's available is going to pull the trigger and write right away, and they're going to get what they want in a pretty quick time. So you're not going to have as much pull in that situation. Other ones that have a little bit more, you just want to be ready to go. And the whole reason why I say it is because if you're waiting for a specific time or something to happen in the economy and the market, you may miss out on that neighborhood that was the perfect neighborhood. And that's more important than trying to time it, especially if you buy it for the long-term investment with enough money down that you know you can handle that mortgage payment no matter if the market corrects or dips after the fact or any of that. You buy when you know you can handle that payment and you know that you're in the neighborhood that you want for the long term because real estate is cyclical. Now, if you can benefit and hold off long enough till you see this market start come crashing down and, you know, everybody's putting their house on the market and we're in that hyper supply, and if you can hold off for that, that's great. But guess what? People have been holding out for that for the last couple of years. And I thought I bought at the peak of the market 2 years ago. We made an extra $50,000, you know, just in the last couple of years. Not intentional, because I wanted to live in this neighborhood and because it fit what I needed, so it served the utility purpose like my dad talked about, as well as payment conscious, and I can handle the payment and fix that out. So I know if I was renting or if I wasn't doing those things, number one, I wouldn't have secured the property that I'm grateful that I have now. Now, I'd like to be on a cul-de-sac. There's other things I'd like to have. Well, I bought it at $573, right? So every price point is going to have different perks or pros and cons of what it is that you're looking at. But biggest thing I can emphasize, just the sooner you get the application rolling, you'll know exactly where you're at. Jason and I both know, just speaking to you, that if you said you wanted to see something tomorrow, I'd put pressure on Jason and say, Jason, give me a pre-approval letter. Just send it over. You don't need to run it. Like, just trust me and do that. But again, we want to do this the right way. And the last thing we want is some curveball to come up that it's like, oh, we should have figured that out up front. So just when you can do that, that'd be great. And then we just go from there. And I hope you never feel that we're putting pressure on you to try to do something sooner than you know what's best for your family. We just want to inform you, and we also don't want you kicking us down the road and be like, hey, you know, Jason, Brandon, why didn't you tell me that the rates were going to be higher or that prices were going to continue to go up and it was going to get more competitive, you know, as time went on instead of less competitive. So, you know, we don't want that to happen, but we know what's happening right now. And, you know, that's the best thing we can do and then continue to do as we continue this relationship in the future, you know, keep you updated on a monthly basis and just check in with you and say, hey, you know, this is what we're seeing, this is what's happening. And, you know, and then if you see some things you like, you just let us know, we do some digging on it, you know?
Sure. Yeah. And thanks for the motivation. My mother-in-law she was a realtor, and one of the what I learned through buying a house is that one of the main jobs is to get people to quit sitting on their hands. So I do appreciate it, and I understand it, and I definitely understand what you're saying about you know, houses appreciating in value and whatnot. So I'll think about it over the weekend. The one last inquiry, and honestly, I don't know if this is the right venue for it, but so Rancho Campana, it's a high school here in Camarillo. I don't understand it because it's not zoned. Is it like Cape? Is it some sort of a lottery?
Let me see if I can pull my wife in. She's the school one.
Google it too.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull her in real quick. She knows more about that than I do.
Thank you.
Danielle? Yes. Can you come in real quick? Rancho Campana, is that a lottery school? How does that work? I know we gotta go.
I could probably have just researched it.
Yeah.
I honestly, I figured you might probably know. But.
Yeah, no. So hello. This is Ryan. This is my wife, Danielle.
Hi there.
Hello. Hi, Danielle.
How's it going?
Jason's on there too.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're just on a conference call real quick. So the question is just about the new high school. How does that work? Is that school district wise? Is it a lottery? What do you know about?
From what I know about it, it is a lottery school at this time. It's a part of the Oxnard Unified High School District, which is like the other high schools in the area. But to go there, it's not based on where you live. So there are some students from like Newbury Park, Oxnard, Camarillo that are all going to that high school. You just put in when your kid is the school year prior, and they do lottery. But I don't know how they do it because I know a few of the other charter and lottery schools in the area kind of run their lotteries different.
Okay. Thanks for the information. My girl, she hasn't even started kindergarten. She just got into Cape.
So. Ditto. Okay, that's where we're at with it too.
So I'm just trying to think ahead,
Oh, for sure. That's so funny because Emma's at Cape as well with Nina, and we love it. And I was talking to a mom in the dance lobby when this mom's daughter and mine were in class. And it's so funny because they're just first graders too. And so she's like, so where are you thinking of her going to high school? And I just was like, flip the script, And I was just like, one of the local schools. I'm not sure kind of where her natural acclimations will be at that time. But I know like Rancho Campana has right now a really good reputation. They're a newer school, so it's got a lot of new equipment, technology, and all that kind of stuff. It's very big in performing arts. Both in actual theater performance and on the tech side with like film and the film industry being right up in LA is huge. So that's kind of where they're at right now. But I think that the other high schools, Rio Mesa and Camarillo, and some of the ones in Oxnard as well, are kind of trying to find a niche as well. Some of them are trying to be STEM, which is more science-based. Some are more agricultural because that's huge out here in Ventura County as well. And right now, Camarillo High School is the only ag high school locally. So I think each high school is going to kind of tend to have a niche to the sort of trade or industry that your kid's going to want to get into.
Okay, yeah. So I need to not think that far ahead, probably.
Well, no, I think
it's what my girl or my boy is going to necessarily.
Yeah, no, I think it's amazing to kind of have a game plan in mind and keep an eye on those schools because test scores and enrollment and things, they change, and luckily, we can kind of track that as our kids become of age.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. But okay, thanks for the information.
No problem, Ryan. Anything else I can help out with school stuff? I'm excited that you're going to be a fellow Comet soon here.
Yeah, we're super excited.
Yeah.
We were very happy when we got that call because that kind of solidified us wanting to stay in this area, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that made our decision to go ahead and put roots down here, vice me continuing to look to the commercial side for work. So.
Oh, great.
We're excited.
Awesome.
Just trying to think about neighborhoods at this point. So.
Yeah.
Well, and Ryan, if you'd like, I'm more than happy to share this. And I don't give my wife's phone number out to anybody, but more than happy to to share Danielle's phone number if you'd like to talk to her. If your wife would like to speak to her, she actually has her teaching credential, worked with Oxnard School District, and knows quite a bit about the ins and outs, the better schools. She'd done a lot of research. Very grateful for her before we got all situated with Emma. And then now it's just kind of laying that groundwork. So you already, that's awesome. You guys already got into Cape. But any questions you have, neighborhoods, any of that type of stuff, Danielle's she's an amazing, resource of information for that. And feel free to reach out to her for that too.
Be happy to help.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's great. Yeah. I think our 3-year-olds are going to be in the same grade.
Oh,
so he has a
cool.
3-year-old son.
Oh, wow, 2 boys too. Okay.
Yeah, girl and boy.
Well,
a little bit. I mean, Emma's close. She's 7, so she's going to
be in second grade next year.
Yeah.
But that'll be awesome.
Very cool.
I apologize in advance for any bad influence my son has on yours because he's an imple right now at age 3.
I have a redhead, so.
Oh boy, they're gonna have tons of fun.
Yeah, so the same.
Yeah.
Well, when you guys are open to it, we definitely got to try to get the families together and.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, get the kids together, and I'm sure they'll be playing sports and going to school together.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, anything else we can help you with, Ryan?
that was the last question I had. I appreciate you guys' time.
Not a problem, man. And I hope it didn't feel rushed. We still got a good, I think I'm seeing 40, 45 minutes on here, so that was still a pretty in-depth conversation. But yeah, hopefully it was helpful, and that's what we just try to do up front, is just get the most out of it so that we're all on the same page. And again, this isn't to try to push you to do anything sooner than you're ready to do it. It's just being prepared. And then once we got all the facts and the numbers, you know, the houses sell themselves. You know what I mean? It's the properties. You're going to know exactly what it is that you're looking for. The sooner that, and Jason's done it many times, where he'll text me and say, "Hey, do you see this one for Ryan?" And I'll just say, "No, I haven't." So he'll keep an eye out for me. My wife keeps an eye out. We all just work together just to make sure that we don't miss anything. And then, a lot of times our clients find the house that they want on their own. And then they just, it's we're in their corner to protect them through the process and negotiate on their behalf and make sure that they get the best terms possible.
Sounds good.
Cool. Well, you come from a real estate family, so it sounds like you already know the drill.
Some of it anyway.
Sounds good. Well, Ryan, appreciate your time, man. You guys have a good weekend, and don't ever hesitate to call or text anytime, too, even if it's just a quick question.
All right, thanks.
Cool. All right, Ryan, have a good one. Thanks for your time, Jason.
You're very welcome. Talk to you guys later.
All right, take care. Bye.